I never thought anything would happen with Lucas. We'd been friends for years. The kind of friends who maybe flirted a little too much when drunk, sent the occasional risque meme, but always laughed it off like it was a joke. He was straight. Well, straight-ish. You know the type. Confident, charming, girls always around him, but never anything too serious. He'd never said it out loud, but I just assumed he was one of those guys who liked to keep things ambiguous enough to get away with stuff, but not so far that anyone could call him out on it. Lucas was my best friend, and also, maybe, the person I'd quietly been in love with for the last 4 years. So when he texted me out of the blue one Sunday night, "Hey, can I crash at your place? Just for a few days? Shit hit the fan with Haley." I said yes, without even thinking. Haley was his girlfriend. Or maybe now, his ex. He didn't explain much, just showed up at my apartment 30 minutes later with a duffel bag, and that sheepish, boyish grin I hated myself for loving. He walked in like he always did, like he owned the place. Threw his bag on the couch, peeled off his hoodie, and made a beeline for the fridge. "You still got that weird IPA you like?" he called out. I rolled my eyes. "Top shelf. But you're only allowed one. That stuff's expensive." He grabbed one, popped the cap with his ring, and flopped down onto the couch like he hadn't just dropped a relationship bomb on me. "You okay?" I asked, leaning against the kitchen counter. He shrugged. "Yeah, I mean, whatever. It was coming. We were kind of on different pages anyway." That was classic Lucas, shrugging off a breakup like it was a failed group project. I didn't press. I knew if he wanted to talk, he would. Instead, I grabbed a water and sat next to him, our knees barely touching. "So how long are you planning to invade my space?" I joked, nudging him lightly. He grinned. "Just a few days. I'll find something soon. I swear I won't mess up your bathroom." "You already do when you visit." He laughed. And that tension, the weird kind that lives between two people who maybe want to touch each other, but pretend they don't, settled back into the room. That night, I set him up with blankets and a pillow, even gave him one of my hoodies to sleep in. He didn't ask, just accepted it with a quiet thanks that did something stupid to my chest. We stayed up late watching reruns, both of us pretending not to notice how close we were sitting. I was aware of every breath, every time his leg brushed mine, every casual yawn where he stretched and his arm hovered a little too close to my shoulders. Around 1 a.m. I finally said, "All right, I'm dying. I gotta sleep." "Yeah," he said, his voice softer. "Thanks again, man." I stood, gave him a half smile, and turned to go to my room. I was just about to close the door behind me when I heard it. "Hey," he said. I looked back. He was sitting up, hair messy, that hoodie of mine making him look almost too familiar. "Do you mind if I crash with you? Just for tonight?" My heart thudded, hard and fast. "Why?" He scratched the back of his neck, not meeting my eyes. "I don't know. Couch is weird. I feel off. Just for tonight." I stared at him. Everything in me screamed not to read into it, but I couldn't help it. "Yeah," I said. "Sure." He stood up, grabbed his pillow and blanket, and followed me into my room. It was silent as we both climbed into my bed, keeping that awkward 3-inch gap like it was law. I lay there staring at the ceiling, barely breathing. Then I felt it. The bed shifted. The warmth of him moved closer. His arm brushed mine, just enough to make my skin burn. And then I felt his hand, hesitant and unsure, rest on my wrist. I didn't move. Neither did he. He didn't say a word. But that was the moment everything changed. I barely slept that night. Not because of what happened, because of what didn't. His hand just rested there, like a question he didn't know how to ask. Like he was waiting for me to do something, say something. But I didn't. I couldn't. I laid there, eyes wide open, listening to his breathing, trying to figure out if he was awake or asleep, if he even meant to touch me, or if this was all just some exhausted, subconscious gesture. But he didn't move away. Not for hours. In the morning, I woke up first. His hand was still there, heavier now, like he'd truly fallen asleep that way, and his face was inches from mine, relaxed in a way I almost never saw. I stared at him for a full minute before slipping out of bed. When I came back with coffee, he was still curled on his side, face half buried in my pillow, hair sticking up in every direction. He looked younger somehow, softer. Eventually, his eyes cracked open. "Morning," he mumbled, voice thick with sleep. "Coffee?" I offered. He sat up slowly, rubbing his face. "God, what time is it?" "Almost 9. He took the mug and nodded, eyes still not quite focused. Then he looked around like he forgot where he was for a second. Then his eyes landed on me, and I braced myself for something. A joke, a question, an awkward laugh. But he just sipped his coffee and said, "Thanks for letting me stay, man." "Of course," I said, a little too quickly. "You good?" He hesitated. Yeah. Yeah. The next couple days were surprisingly normal. Too normal, actually. Lucas acted like nothing happened. He went to the gym, helped me cook dinner, watched dumb movies with me like always. He even flirted with a barista when we went out for coffee, which made my stomach twist in a way I wasn't proud of. I started convincing myself it had been nothing. Just a tired, emotionally wrecked version of him reaching for something familiar. It didn't mean anything, except one night, 3 days later, we were playing a video game on the couch, the usual trash talk flying between us, when he said something weird. "You ever wonder what it'd be like if you and I had met differently?" I paused, controller in hand. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, not looking at me. "I don't know. Like, if I wasn't with Haley when we became friends. Or if you weren't." He trailed off, leaving the rest unsaid. "Gay?" I offered with a smirk. He glanced at me, half grinning. "Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean." I didn't. Not really, but I didn't push. We kept playing and he didn't bring it up again. Later that night, I was brushing my teeth when he appeared in the doorway, just in boxers and a t-shirt, holding his pillow. "You cool if I crash with you again?" he asked, casual like it was nothing. "Couch not working out for you?" He scratched the back of his head. "Guess I just sleep better in your room." I nodded, heart doing that dumb flutter again. "Sure." We didn't say anything once we were in bed. We just laid there, the room dark except for the glow of the streetlight outside. Then I felt it again. His hand. This time, it was deliberate. Slow. Fingers brushing my wrist, then my forearm. Light, uncertain. And this time, I turned toward him. His eyes were open, watching me. Neither of us said a word. His hand slid up, resting just under my collarbone now. His thumb brushed lightly back and forth. There was no pretending this time. I swallowed. "Lucas, shh," he whispered, barely audible. "I don't want to think tonight." I should have stopped him. I should have said something, made a joke, asked if he was sure. But I didn't. I didn't say anything at all. I just closed the space between us. The kiss was soft. Hesitant. Like he was testing it. Testing me. Our mouths barely met, just the faintest brush of lips at first. No urgency, no fireworks, just this delicate pressure that sent my entire body into lockdown. Lucas pulled back almost immediately like he was checking if I was okay, if I was gonna bolt. His eyes searched mine, wide, unsure, like he couldn't believe what he'd just done. I could barely breathe, so I kissed him again, this time deeper, slower, still gentle, but with less fear behind it. My hand found his jaw, his stubble rough under my fingers, and his breath hitched. "Is this okay?" I asked, whispering against his lips. He nodded once. "Yeah." He breathed. "I think yeah." I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't ask what he was feeling, or why he came into my bed, or what the hell this meant for us. I just let it happen. The next hour was a blur of touches and silences and words that didn't need to be said. There was nothing rushed about it, nothing reckless. Just slow, deliberate movements, like we were trying to memorize every inch of this moment. And when we eventually fell asleep, our limbs tangled under the covers, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. The next morning was quiet. Not awkward, just quiet. Lucas woke up before me. When I stirred, he was already sitting on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, lacing up his sneakers. My chest tightened instantly. He turned when he heard me. "Hey," he said, soft. "Hey," I replied, sitting up. My throat was dry. I'm gonna go for a run," he said, not meeting my eyes. Clear my head. "Okay." He hesitated in the doorway. "Last night." He stopped, frowning. "It wasn't a mistake." That surprised me. "Okay," I said again, my voice careful. I don't know what it means yet." I nodded. "You don't have to." His shoulders relaxed a little. "Thanks. I'll be back in a bit." And then he was gone. The second the door clicked shut, everything I'd been holding in hit me at once. The way he looked at me. The way he touched me. The fact that after years of friendship, we'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I didn't know what to expect when he came back. I didn't know if he'd pretend nothing happened, or if he'd sit me down and try to explain away the entire night. But I knew one thing for sure. I didn't regret it. Not even a little. When he came back, sweaty and flushed from the run, he didn't say anything at first. He just walked to the fridge, grabbed a water, and leaned against the counter. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. Finally, he looked up. "You remember when I got drunk that night after Haley and I fought? A few months ago?" I blinked. "Yeah." "And you let me crash here?" he asked. "Yeah," I said slowly. He paused. "That night I woke up in the middle of the night. You were asleep on the couch next to me. I looked at you, and for a second I thought about kissing you." My heart jumped. "I didn't," he went on. "I freaked out, thought I was just drunk. But I've been thinking about it since." I stepped closer, slowly. "Lucas?" "I don't know what I am," he said. "I've always liked girls, but when I'm around you," he exhaled, frustrated. "It's not just friendship. It hasn't been for a long time." I nodded. My voice was calm, even though my chest was a thunderstorm. "Okay, then we take it slow." His eyes flicked up to mine. "You're not mad?" "Mad?" I stepped close enough to touch him, but didn't. "You showed up at my door, scared and broken, and still found the courage to try something with me." "I'm not mad, Lucas." He laughed under his breath, like he didn't quite believe it. "You're too good to me," I smiled. "That's kind of the problem." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he reached out and took my hand. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a grand speech. Just his fingers curling around mine, like he'd finally stopped running from it. Like, maybe, just maybe, he wanted to see where this could go. The weeks that followed were a quiet kind of chaos. Lucas didn't move out. He never brought it up again. His duffel bag stayed in the corner of my living room, untouched, like a silent agreement that he wasn't going anywhere. Not yet, at least. We didn't define anything. We didn't talk about labels or boundaries or what exactly we were doing. But something between us had shifted. The first time he held my hand in public. Just a quick, casual grab in the grocery store when we both reached for the same bag of chips. I looked at him like he'd grown a second head. He just smirked. "What? You're holding my hand," I said, as if he didn't know. "Yeah," he replied with that maddening calm. "Problem?" I shook my head, smiling, even though I was stunned. "No, just unexpected. I've been doing a lot of unexpected shit lately," he muttered, then dropped my hand and walked ahead like it was nothing. And that was the thing about Lucas. He did these tiny, loaded things. A brush at his knee against mine when we watched a movie. An arm thrown lazily over my shoulders when we sat on the couch. Like he wasn't aware of how hard they hit me. Like they were natural. Instinct. Maybe for him they were. For me, they were everything. There were moments that felt almost normal, almost easy. He'd make breakfast shirtless, humming off key, acting like nothing had changed. He'd toss me the remote and complain about my taste in shows. He'd fall asleep with his head on my shoulder after too many beers and call me dude in the sleepiest voice I'd ever heard. But then there were the nights where the silence stretched too long between us. Nights when I caught him staring at the ceiling, jaw clenched, clearly lost in his own thoughts. He never said it out loud, but I knew what he was thinking. What does this mean? Who the hell am I now? Is this real? I didn't push. I gave him space. And maybe that was the hardest part. Loving someone who was still figuring out if he could love you back in the same way. One night, we were both up late, the city outside our windows humming quietly. He was in one of those moods, quieter than usual, thumb absent-mindedly rubbing the edge of his beer bottle. I finally broke the silence. Want to talk about it? He looked at me, startled, like he didn't realize I was paying attention. About what? I raised an eyebrow. Lucas sighed and leaned back against the couch. I don't know. Everything. Nothing. That clears it up, he smirked, but it faded quickly. It's weird, you know. What is? Being with you. He winced. No, not in a bad way. Just new. I nodded. It's weird for me, too. He looked surprised. Really? You think I've done this before? Fallen for a guy who swore he was straight for most of his life? Let him move into my apartment and mess up all my routines? Lucas grinned, barely. You had routines? Believe it or not, I used to be very emotionally stable and not at all addicted to watching your dumb face sleep. He laughed, and the tension cracked just a little. Then, after a long pause, he said, I think I'm scared. I looked at him. Of what? He didn't answer right away. His eyes were on his hands now, fingers toying with the label on his beer. Of what it means if this is real, he said quietly. I reached over and touched his knee, grounding him. It doesn't have to mean anything today, but eventually it will. I nodded. Yeah, but not tonight. Lucas turned toward me, his eyes tired but clear. You really don't need me to figure this all out right away? I just need you to not run. He held my gaze for a moment. Then, slowly, he leaned in and kissed me. Soft and slow, like he was finally choosing it. Choosing me. When he pulled back, his voice was barely above a whisper. I'm not running. That night he didn't sleep on the couch. He didn't even ask. He just climbed into my bed, curled into my side, and stayed. A few days later, Lucas got a text from Haley. I didn't mean to see it. He left his phone on the counter, and the preview lit up when I walked by. Just a short message. Can we talk? I pretended I didn't see it. He didn't bring it up that night. Or the next. But something in him shifted. The way he moved, the way he talked. It was subtle, but I noticed. He laughed less, got distracted more easily, started sleeping on the couch again. It was like we'd hit a wall he wasn't ready to climb yet. One night, I came home late from work, tired and cranky, and found him sitting on the balcony, hoodie pulled tight, staring out at the city like it held answers he couldn't find. I dropped my bag by the door and joined him, settling into the chair beside his. He didn't look at me. You're pulling away, I said, not accusing, just honest. He didn't deny it. I don't know what I'm doing, he admitted after a long pause. With you, with this, with her. You talked to her, he nodded. Not much, just closure, I guess. And did you get it? He shook his head. Not really. I waited. She asked if I was seeing someone. I didn't know what to say. That hit harder than I expected. I tried to keep my voice steady. And why's that? Because I don't even know what we are, he said, finally turning to face me. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know what label to use. I don't even know what's happening to me half the time when I'm around you. I stared at him. You don't need to explain anything to anyone except me. And even then, only if you want to. I don't want to hurt you, he said, or lead you on, or make you think I'm someone I'm not. I stood up, heart pounding, emotions creeping too close to the surface. Lucas, I don't need you to be perfect. I don't need a label, but I need to know you're in this, not just halfway, not just when it's convenient. I am in it, he said, standing too, but I'm figuring it out while I'm already falling, and that's terrifying. We were inches apart now. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw it. The fear, the longing, the confusion, all of it, but also the want. You don't have to know the destination, I said, voice low. But if you're getting in the car with me, don't keep one foot out the door. His eyes softened. He nodded, and then he kissed me. Not soft or hesitant this time, but real, grounded, like he finally understood that this wasn't something to be afraid of. We didn't talk much after that. Didn't need to. He slept in my bed again that night, arms slung over my waist like it belonged there. And when the sun came up, he was still there, still holding on. Summer rolled in quietly. Lucas was still living with me. His lease with Haley was officially over. He didn't go back for any of his stuff, just ordered new basics online and left the past behind like it was a bad dream. We never made it official, whatever that means. But the way we lived, it felt like something real. He'd cook breakfast some mornings, always shirtless, always acting like he didn't know what he was doing to me. I'd steal his hoodie when mine was in the wash, and he'd pretend to be annoyed, but never actually asked for it back. He'd fall asleep with his head on my chest, and when I'd reach to turn off the lamp, he'd grab my hand and hold it there. Little things, everything. And yet, it was still fragile, like we were building something beautiful on top of glass. One night, we had some friends over. People from college, a few mutuals. Nothing big, just drinks, takeout, music. I was in the kitchen when I heard someone ask, "So you guys just roommates or what?" I froze. It wasn't even a malicious question, just casual curiosity. But the room went quiet. I peeked out. Lucas was sitting on the couch, drink in hand. He glanced at me just briefly. Then he smiled. Easy, confident. "We're together," he said, just like that. No hesitation, no caveats. I stared at him from across the room, stunned. And when our eyes met again, he just gave me this soft little nod, like he was saying, "I got you, I'm not hiding anymore." After the party ended and everyone left, I stood at the doorway, half tipsy and very much in my feelings. Lucas came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. "You okay?" he asked. "You said it," I replied. Out loud, he leaned his chin on my shoulder, because I meant it. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," he cut in gently. "I'm not scared of what this is anymore." I turned around in his arms. His eyes were steady now. No more panic, no more doubt, just him, standing there completely present. "You sure?" I whispered. Lucas nodded. "You make me feel like myself. But better, and if that means I'm not the guy the first thought I was, I'm okay with that." I kissed him. Right there, in the hallway, where the scent of leftover Thai food and cheap beer still lingered. Where hours earlier, he might have kept quiet. Not anymore. That night, we didn't sleep. Not because we were tangled up in some feverish mess of skin and heat, though yeah, there was that too, but because we stayed up talking. Everything. Childhood, fear, family, the things we'd never said when we were just best friends on opposite ends of a couch. And somewhere around 4 a.m., Lucas looked at me and said, "This us, it doesn't feel weird anymore. It just feels like home."